We just got a big update from Ripple XDev, and I do think that this confirms what we have been talking about for a very long time now when it comes back to Ripple and XRP. Let's start off with this announcement from Ripple XDev, which is the amendment for permissioned domains is nearing the threshold for activation. Ripple supports this feature as well as the permission DEX, which this will ultimately enable. Now, the permission DEX and permission domains are a crucial focus because of what they really enable. Let's start off with the breakdown from Ripple XDev. So we have permission domains are a game changer for the XRP ledger because they bring institutional grade controls to a public network without sacrificing the trade-offs of a private chain. While the permission domains amendment is an enabling feature, it sets the stage for financial institutions to engage in permission flows on a fast, scalable, and resilient blockchain network, the XRP ledger. The permission DEX will enable permissioned trading flows, and the upcoming lending protocol may apply permission domains for controlled lending and borrowing flows. This all goes hand in hand with institutional DeFi, which Ripple is 100% committed to for the XRP ledger. Now, when we think about this as well, we've been seeing a lot of private network adoption from institutional players. This is enabling all of those controls for institutional players. This is very, very bullish for the public XRP ledger network because now institutional players no longer have to go to a private chain. They can now build, launch, and utilize the public XRP ledger network for major use cases that involve extremely large use cases like foreign exchange, the FX market, cross-border payments, also advancing tokenization initiatives, and of course, DeFi. I'm very, very excited about this. Now, let's talk about the permission DEX because we go back to June of last year where we got the big update regarding the permission DEX, unlocking institutional access to DeFi. This enables, of course, institutional DeFi, but what other use cases does this enable? Well, if we are thinking about this logically, we look at the core pieces that will be tied back to it. And these are all the key things. Credentials, permission domains, which we just got the update on, and then the permission DEX. If we're looking at some of the use cases, it includes stablecoin and fiat FX swaps, aka on-chain FX, the on-chain foreign exchange market, a $7.5 trillion per day market. Contractor and payroll payouts, also centered around cross-border FX. Cross-border B2B payments, again, focused on the B2B foreign exchange side. Corporate treasury. All of these are very large use cases. This is all institutional grade compliance and also institutional grade features, like, for example, controls, which they get when tapping into a private chain. This is at a perfect time that they are launching this. Now, we go over here to Krippenreiter's post. We talked about this on the show with Panos because, again, we have been noticing a lot of engagement around on-chain FX. These institutional grade use cases are exactly what XRP holders should get excited about because everyone is always speculating on what's going to, be the next big thing for the XRP ledger. On-chain FX is going to be one of the largest use cases to ever hit a public chain, because this is a $7.5 trillion per day market. Now, we're not going to see that value immediately go over to the XRP ledger or anything like that, but it will start small and then it will start to scale and expand rapidly. But this goes all the way back to the permission DEX use case. I mean, this is such a huge, amendment. Like this amendment and what it enables is very bullish. And we've been talking about it. In fact, we have been exploring on-chain FX since going all the way back to April and even prior, because we started to see it become a reality. I even said here, because I was quoting Reese Merrick's post talking about the stablecoin market cap and how it surged 32% in just the past 6 months. That was back in April of 2025. Since then, stablecoins have been on fire and expanding even more faster than what we saw back in, the beginning of 2025. I said here that this is actually crazy to see. We officially make up 1% of the global M2 in stablecoins. I do expect Ripple to launch multiple stablecoins, and I did mention all of them here. The entire foreign exchange market is moving on-chain through stablecoins. Now is the time to lock in. Now, I also mentioned back in May of last year, I said the revolution of the financial system is upon us, and it's happening with Ripple, XRP, and stablecoins. In one single month, we witnessed confirmation of 4 stablecoins set to launch on the XRP ledger: USDB, BBRL, EURP, XSGD. This isn't even mentioning the USV stablecoin from Societe Generale, Forge, or ROUSD. We are witnessing the 7.5 trillion per day Forex market moving on-chain in a huge way, and XRP is at the forefront. These stablecoin moves are accelerating faster than ever before, and I think everyone needs to be aware of how important stablecoins actually are. Most are just looking at the face value of stablecoins, but they unlock trillions in value, enable use cases like cross-border payments, tokenization, institutional DeFi, and so much more. And yeah, we're watching this happen. And again, it's going to happen slowly but surely, but this is very exciting. And it goes back to that post from December of 2024, where I said this was always the plan. And this is XRP at the center of all of the fiat currencies, because this is the FX market. This is the foreign exchange market moving on chain. And when we think about how crazy this actually is, we go over to the XRP ledger right now. In the last 30 days, stablecoin transfer volume is up 37% at $743 million. Stablecoin, in terms of the market cap, 383.77 million, up almost 20%. We are now starting to see more and more stablecoin initiatives launching on the XRP ledger, and we're starting to see more and more value from them as well. If we're looking at the asset classes in general here, stablecoins in the last 30 days are up 20+%. Most of that is coming from ROUSD at 13.65% in just the last 7 days. If we're looking at the actual platforms here, last 30 days for ROUSD up 21.5%. We still are starting to see a lot more stablecoin adoption, like from Braza, for example, which is up 7.65%. Circle is still pretty slow, but this is still up 53+% in the last 30 days. So again, stablecoin adoption here for the XRP ledger is starting to grow. And if we're looking at stablecoins, I don't think that it actually tells us up here, but if we're looking at the asset classes and just looking at stablecoins alone, we have 6 stablecoins already on the XRP ledger right now. They include, of course, ROUSD, BBRL, EURP, AUDD, USDB, and USDC. And I would argue that we're probably going to start to see more stablecoins coming over to the XRP ledger this year. So this is very exciting. Now, we also go back to FX, right? How do we know that Ripple is still fully committed to the FX market? It's not just because of these recent updates, which are still building on top of course, the FX push for on-chain FX, but it's also going back to Ripple Prime. Ripple Prime is very big because when we think about Hidden Road, right, which was originally, Hidden Road, Ripple Prime became the new name for Hidden Road. Hidden Road includes XRP and ROUSD in a big way, but Hidden Road's original solutions centered around major markets, including the foreign exchange market, also digital assets, derivatives, swaps, and fixed income. But if we're thinking about this, the FX market is still at the core of this use case. And we know that with Hidden Road, yes, XRP is a major key player behind this. We know this is because, Brad Garlinghouse, for example, he said that XRP, a lot of that volume from Hidden Road will be pushed over XRP. This is how we know this is true. If we're thinking about the FX market, and if we're thinking about Hidden Road, or Ripple Prime, if you will, integrating XRP and ROUSD, I think that with what's being built on the XRP ledger, what's being enabled here through permission dexes and the permission domains, I think what we're going to most likely see is Ripple Prime integrate the XRP ledger into it, as well as most of the solutions that Ripple is now launching. And the reason why I say that is because we also know that Ripple is building out the institutional DeFi portal, which has XRP and the XRPL at the center. I do think that Ripple is planning on integrating the XRP ledger into the stack in a big way. It technically already is, but this would enable many of the big institutional clients of Hidden Roads, which we know is 300 plus very large institutional players, to tap into the XRP ledger and XRP directly. But also, another key piece of the puzzle is the recent announcement of Ripple getting their EMI license approval and crypto asset registration from the UK's FCA. Why is this important? We know that this is definitely a big deal because obviously these permissions allow Ripple to expand its licensed payments platform, giving UK institutions the ability to send cross-border payments using digital assets seamlessly and efficiently. This is definitely a big update. It's great to see. We talked about it. We addressed it. It's awesome. But again, they're talking about their tech stack. And Ripple Prime is being mentioned here. In fact, it's being mentioned as the centerpiece for this. We have Ripple offers comprehensive support across the full spectrum of institutional and digital asset infrastructure needs through its range of solutions, including custody, payments, and its stablecoin, Ripple USD. This capability is further enhanced by Ripple Prime. Why is Ripple Prime being focused on here? Remember, Ripple Prime is focused on the foreign exchange market and all these other areas. Specifically, the FX market, though, is what I am focused on here, especially when it has to do with the UK. Why is that? Well, because, and this goes back to October 2nd, the UK clears nearly 38% of the global Forex turnover. That's right, 37.8% of all daily Forex transactions in 2025, equivalent to $4.7 trillion per day. That is extremely significant. This is why I think this announcement, along with the fact that they are centering on Ripple Prime here in the breakdown, is so significant. Ripple is fully committed to bringing the FX market on chain because this builds on top of their original goal anyways, which is the Internet of Value, improving cross-border payments. That's why when we even go back to the permission DEX announcement and we're looking at the use cases here, every single one of these use cases include currency conversion for cross-border payments and even the FX market. Ripple is creating the infrastructure for a new world of FX, but payments in general. Finance as a whole is moving on chain. Bringing the FX market on chain, though, this would be absolutely massive for the XRP ledger. And I think that that's exactly what's happening here. Every single breadcrumb here is pointing to on-chain FX becoming a reality on the XRP ledger in a huge way, along with all of the stablecoin launches. The stablecoin launches are very significant. And I go back to that image. This image is showing us clearly. And by the way, this image is not brand new. It's from roughly, 2017, 2018. It might be even older than that. It might be 2016. But this image today is still so powerful because this is exactly what's happening right now. We go back to stablecoins. We know stablecoins are absolutely massive. They just recorded over $8 trillion in monthly transfer volume. If we're looking at transfer volume alone and just looking at the monthly, it's insane to see that no matter how much volume we're moving here, this is an insane chart to look at because it's trillions every single month. And we're only going to see more and more stablecoin launches. And a lot of these, if we're looking at the jurisdiction, we have US stablecoins, we have German, stablecoins, British Virgin Islands, Bermuda, France, the Bahamas. Guys, the stablecoin launches here are starting to become more and more significant because we're starting to see more expansion outside of the US dollar. So far, yeah, we still have a ton of USD stablecoins, but we're starting to see that change. And remember that this is the year where the UK is also launching stablecoins because the FCA gave the UK the green light to launch stablecoins. At the same exact time that also Japan is launching yen-based stablecoins this year. This is going to be the year where we really start to see the FX market move on chain. And of course, who's at the forefront of this? Ripple and XRP. So with that being said, I hope that guys enjoyed.